The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. And as I mentioned on episode 139, this is a special episode, kind of a how are the drinkers enjoying beer sort of episode. Basically what we did is we had somebody from the Florida Podcast Network go out to Stormhouse Brewing's second anniversary, which was a few weeks ago, and kind of interview the people that were out there. And that person, very proud to announce here, the Florida Beer Podcast, is Amortegui from the Florida Podcast Network. Amber, thank you so much for going out and doing that for us. We appreciate it.
Hey, Dave. No, it was my pleasure. I had an absolute blast talking to people about their days.
Awesome. So what did you think of the event? Was this the first beer festival that you had ever been to?
Yes, it was. I thought it was really cute. That's like the first word that comes to my mind. I will say I did expect some live music and games per the online announcement, but nonetheless, it was still a really good vibe. They had tons of breweries there. They had a couple of food vendors, and it was just a great atmosphere. It was hot. It was very, very hot outside.
It was hot.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
It,
hotter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I know. We spent a good chunk of time indoors just trying to beat the heat. Did you check out any of the animals that were there? Since Bush Wildlife Sanctuary, who is the beneficiary of this year's event, brought quite the coterie with them.
I did not see the animals. What kind of animals did they bring?
Well, right at the very front, they actually had two owls.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
And as we were walking around, we met a tortoise.
Aww.
I learned the difference between a tortoise and a turtle.
Yes.
But this tortoise's name was Pancake. My wife really liked Pancake. And then there was a snake, a red snake that they kind of hung out with as they were selling raffle tickets to benefit Bush Wildlife Sanctuary as well.
Oh, wow. I completely missed the animals. I'm going to have to go next year just for the animals.
Absolutely. And I know that you went with a friend of yours and the two of you were able to get some interviews, and I can't wait to get to those. But in terms of the beers, and I know that you're not a big beer person, but you and your friend did sample a few. Did anything kind of stick out to you as a non-beer drinker? Hey, I would drink that again.
Yeah, definitely. So the one that stands out, I actually took a few sips because my friend got like a full drink, not just the sample.
Okay.
It was Stormhouse Brewing's Millie Rose.
Okay.
I cannot tell you what style it was, but it was light, if that's a technical term to use in the craft beer industry. It was light, tasty, and as someone who's not much of a beer person, I would definitely get that again.
Yeah, so I'm taking a quick look. It looks like that's their Billy Rose Blonde. Is kind of a simple blonde ale.
Billy Rose. Billy Rose, okay.
Yeah, I'd probably stick you with that. Like that's a great place to sort of get started with, which is nice.
Yeah, I think what was so cool, I was watching my friend talk to the bartender, and she was basically explaining like, look, I'm not really into craft beer, but I'm willing to try, and she just really, the bartender, she really took her time with my friend and recommended a great beer. And we were very, very happy about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is cool. I appreciate it. So how were the people that you spoke to? Was everybody generally friendly and laid back? Did you have any people that you had to sort of strong arm into doing an interview with?
A little bit, but for the most part, people were really sweet. It was so funny. I mostly talked to people who were sitting down under the big tents with the tables and the chairs, so they're in the shade because I'm not trying to
And the fans.
and the fans. So I would talk to people who were in that area, and honestly, Dave, I just popped a squat. I just pulled out a chair and I was like, "Can I sit here?" And they all said yes, and that's when they saw my intimidating microphone and they started asking questions. And I just asked them if they would want to talk about some of the beers they've been sampling and just their favorite breweries around, which we're going to get more into. But people were friendly. I'm sure maybe you know this, Dave. You've done so many interviews. People get a little, what's the word?
Loquacious.
Yes. Yes. A little apprehensive. And I kept telling them, at least it's on a camera. And they were like, yep, that's true. At least it's on a camera.
Yeah.
But no, everyone is very sweet.
Yeah, I'm very happy I was not photographed at that event. I'm sure I did not look pretty in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, I was a sweaty mess.
Oh, yeah. I was just, kind of wring out your shirt because it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you have for us?
All right. So the first interview that I have, I just want to preface with, I think I talked to all couples. So each interview, it features two people. I'm pretty sure they were all couples. In this first couple, they go by Marco and Mishray. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And they are from West Palm Beach. So should we roll the tape?
Go for it.
Yeah, I came across with some already known breweries. So
What are some of your favorites? Or at least are here right now.
that are here, I like, Dixie Grill. I like the food and the beer.
Nobu is one of them. What else? La Rubia. Pretty good.
So if someone was listening to this right now and you were like, you have to go here, it would be Dixie Grill.
Dixie Grill, because they have good food, they have good beer. The ambience is good too. Everything's good. Tiny, but it's perfect. I don't know. I love it.
So you guys are kind of familiar with at least the South Florida, Florida brewing scene and all that. How long have you guys been into craft beer?
Long time. I mean, probably 10 years at least. We've seen some breweries that opened at the time and now they're gone for different reasons, but it's been a long time.
You said you're into sours. You're saying you're more into IPAs.
Correct. Yeah, I like also the amber lagers and stout sometimes as well.
Sometimes I want something light, so you go to the lagers. You want something hard, a little bit stronger. It would be I don't know. In his case, would be an IPA. In my case, would be an amber or the potter. So I don't know what they call it. The dark ones. Huh? Porter. Oh, whatever they're called. I don't know. It all depends on the mood, I guess.
They like the ambers.
I know. And it's interesting because I remember at the event for a Dixie Brewery and Grill, the owners, Jason and Rachel Mata, were there. And I just interviewed them for the Florida Beer podcast last month or so. And it was kind of neat because they had mentioned that it's a small space, and it is a small space, but they're getting very close to expanding, which I know Jason was very excited about. I also know Jason, I was able to introduce Jason to one of the owners at Stormhouse, Josh Brinzo, and they are both avid golfers. So there was a lot of golf conversation that was happening with them. I was like, you go and you golf, you talk about that. I'll be back here with the beer.
That's cool, though. It kind of sounds a little bit like a brewery networking event.
Oh, absolutely. There were a lot of connections being made, which was fantastic. I actually really enjoyed that. Hoping that I made a few myself in terms of between breweries and getting a few things started in terms of collaborations and whatnot. So who do we have next?
All right. Up next, we have Megan and Jack.
All right.
They are coming out of Palm Beach Gardens and Lake Worth.
Gotcha.
We love Stormhouse. We've been coming here since day one. This is our second anniversary party here. The staff is great. I mean, we know everybody inside, but I'm happy to support them today. And yeah, it's just been fun just trying different beers out, and love trying all the local breweries, the Florida breweries. We've been trying some breweries from the west coast of Florida, which is really cool. Yeah, just taste testing. Not sour, not IPA. More like a light beer, the Kolsch beers, lagers. He's the IPAs.
Any favorites that you've been trying out today?
We loved Grand Central.
Yes, that was the best one.
Yeah, Grand Central had like something for both of us. So they're out of St. Pete, which was like really cool to talk to them. We almost
cool
are like
people.
ready to plan a trip over there and check out the breweries there. So they were awesome, and they had a light beer for me, IPA for him. So it was perfect. Even though I don't like sours, I did have a great one. So it is kind of fun just to try out some different beers that you wouldn't normally try. The small sample is a great way just to test out. Yeah.
Dave, I really love that Megan said they were about ready to plan a trip to the west coast of Florida solely to go check out all those breweries over there. I think that's the coolest thing.
I have readily said this. I've said this before on the podcast many times, and I will say it again. The best city in Florida for craft beer is St. Petersburg. It was interesting because there were actually two breweries from St. Pete that were at the event. Obviously, they mentioned Grand Central, which is sort of an anchor in the Grand Central district at the end of Central, very, very close to Tropicana Field where the Rays play. But maybe a couple blocks away from them is If I Brewed the World, which is another in that sort of central area. And I know If I Brewed the World is right across the street from Three Daughters. A couple blocks away, you've got, it's funny because the taproom manager for Grand Central is who came down to actually pour at the event.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about how close everything is in St. Pete, that like specific area, and how concentrated everything is what's going on. So their general manager, Matt O'Connell, got to say hi. He was there. I know another person was there, and what was really neat is that one of their wives was there who was selling some of the artwork that she makes herself. It was really fantastic, and I was really, really happy to see them, which is very, very cool.
That's awesome. No, it sounds like a nice little tight-knit community. I mean, I feel like as like a consumer, that would be great because you just kind of hop from one to the other. They're not too far away, it sounds like, from each other.
Oh, yeah. You just park your car and you can do a lot of hopping.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Okay, next up we have Nicole and Dave. Now I should preface, Dave was the DD, so he was not drinking at this event,
Okay.
but Nicole was, and she was feeling it. It was a lot of fun talking to her. I really, she was so happy and very energetic.
All right.
So I'm going to go ahead and roll that clip.
Traveled this way a few times to Stormhouse and Twisted Trunk. We've been to Nobo, and the place is down in Delray. I like sours, so I'm always on the hunt for a good, interesting sour. It's kind of weird, though, because I feel like sours used to be a rarity, and now they're, like, the norm. So it's kind of fun, kind of weird. But I know, finally, everybody's waking up to the freshness. They're so, like, fresh and lively, and they remind me of fruit, so.
Do you have any favorites?
So far today, there was a really good one. I think it's from Stormhouse. Their blue fruit tape or something like that. It's like fruit roll up. It was so good. So delicious. Yeah. And then the Odd Brewery, or is that what they're called? Odd Brewing Company. They have some interesting sours. They're not labeled as sours, but they have very fruit forward flavors, and they're just very refreshing. So is that an odd breed? Okay. Yeah. They're really good. They're different. They look like they're in wine bottles. So I know, it's kind of cool. Well, their age, it says in oak barrels. So that's probably like part of like the pouring process. They can only get them in big bottles, I'm guessing. I don't know. I know nothing about the brewing process. I just imbibe.
No, that's really cool.
I used to be an IPA guy. I'm kind of taking a little break right now. I'm helping the belly and the calories and stuff. But yeah, no, we used to go to Twisted Trunk. We used to travel all over and try different breweries. We ended up in Delray, Boca, all over the place.
How important is like the food that you're growing on? I know some breweries, they don't really serve food.
It's good. I like it when they have snacks and things to eat, you know, because after a few drinks, it's wise to have a little bit of something to follow it. Like Das Brewery, you know, for instance, they have all kinds of snacks and the whole menu, pretzels, all kinds of things. Yeah, Das it's right around here. We go there. There's a whole street of breweries right there. Fun little area.
Not just drinks.
Have the board games, have that kind of stuff. Make it to where we're comfortable and we want to, interact with each other. Other people getting together playing Jenga. Let's do it. Let's build that tower.
She was definitely happy.
Yes, and we'll all play Jenga together too. Jenga people.
The one in Delray they mentioned is Saltwater. I feel I should call them out and say hello to them. But I was really happy to see that Odd Breed got a lot of love. Matt Manthe, the owner and a brewer there, is one of the most amazing people I've ever met. He is easily the smartest and most amazing brewer in the state of Florida, if not the world. He is fantastic. And they aren't sours, they're wild ales. And so these are fermented naturally, which takes a very long time to do. And Matt actually has a degree in microbiology. That's kind of how he got started into brewing. And so when he was kind of cutting his teeth at a couple of other breweries, including Brewzy, which was in Boca, he was also sort of doing this on the side. If you ever follow their social media, it's amazing because when he releases a beer, it comes with basically a textbook of all the things that he did to make that particular beer happen. There were a lot of brewers that were very happy to see him, including Christian Brinzo, who's a co-founder and the brewer at Stormhouse. I was able to connect the two of them. And I know Christian was very, very happy to meet Matt because he is just a phenomenal and phenomenally smart brewer.
He sounds like a scientist, which is, I'm sure, exactly what you need.
That's literally it. That's literally it. I remember I went to interview him for the Florida Beer podcast. I think I'll get, 30 minutes. Hour and a half later, and I had to stop it because I could have kept going, but there's just it was so much, and he's just so fantastic and very open with the knowledge and kind of giving that out. I know the people that I was with were very excited to see that he was there.
He's got some fans. Well, I live in Pompano Beach, so I'm definitely going to have to check them out. Odd Breed Brewing, right?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. They're right on Atlantic, very close to the intersection of Atlantic and 95. Mm-hmm. And if you continue driving right down that road, that's where you get to 26 Degree Brewing.
Yes, by the beach.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got one more attendee interview to get through. This is Tom and Sherry.
All right.
Yeah, let's get to it.
We have tried at least one beer from every location on the side. And we're okay still. We're not drunk. So.
I know, everybody's generous.
Well, we try to.
Some of them are very, very large, yes.
We try not to do a full pour. I'm the IPA guy, so I've been trying all the IPAs. They've been what you would expect from an IPA. So nothing we were just talking, like anything stand out that much. Not that much. Nothing stands out like, oh my gosh, that's the best IPA I ever had. But they're all just sort of basically good.
I'm more of a wheat person or a lager or the Pilsner. He does the heavy stuff. I think the heat is not great for these today. I think it's changing the flavor of them a little bit. So I would like we've said, we've had Chancellor before in controlled situations. We didn't try Chancellor today because we've already had it. I'm curious of what Chancellor would taste like out here versus when you get it in the restaurant or, at the brewery.
Just for jokes, we are sitting in the middle of a parking lot and it's 95 degrees out and we are under a tent with a fan blowing on us. So it's not the best IPA drinking weather there can be. Especially because we're from Michigan, so we have a little cooler weather when we drink IPAs, but I still drink them. So
that makes sense. Yes. Right. Yes, it is very hot.
Yes. I mean, the sours today the sours have been pretty good today because it's a little more refreshing than the IPAs leave that little bit of, I'm going to say, film on your tongue. So, a little bit different. So, but yeah, it's been pretty nice. So it's pretty nice here.
I find it interesting. A lot of the places didn't bring a ton of IPAs, to be perfectly honest with you. There weren't a whole lot of barrel-aged beers. There were some IPAs, but a lot of sours were at the event in some way, shape, or form. And
do you think that was intentional?
I think it's a combination of the heat and also the kinds of people that are in the area. Palm Beach County is a little bit more sour friendly than some other locations and some other brew festivals that I've been to. And a lot of it really does depend on finding the right beers to bring to a festival. Because at the end of the day, these people, all the breweries that were there, intend to have you come to the brewery to try their stuff. There's a lot of people that were there, like Magic 13 and Side Door. They don't distribute at all. Like, the only way that you're going to find their stuff is to actually go to the locations. I may be incorrect about the distribution part, but most of them, they want you to come. And so knowing who the Brew Fest is generally going to attract will have a very heavy hand in understanding what beers to bring to the festival. It's interesting. There was a brewery in planning. They're about to open up pretty soon on Common Path. They're going to be a couple blocks away from Sistrunk in downtown Fort Lauderdale. I'd seen them very, very recently at another beer festival, and then I saw them at this festival, and they changed their lineup to suit the different kinds of crowds just a little bit. And I think that was very smart of them.
Yeah. What did you make of what Sherry was saying about chancellors? And, she said, we tried them in controlled environments, but never really outside in the hotness.
Well, I will say Stormhouse did a very good job of making sure that each of the breweries had as much ice as they needed to keep the kegs cool. So the beer flavors fresh out of the kegs is going to be as cold and as perfect as you're going to get at the brewery. They are professionals. That being said, when you've got the beer in your hand and you're not drinking it and you're walking around and it is hot, beers do change flavors as they warm up. And for me, especially if it's a barrel-aged beer or something kind of slightly different, it's interesting and fun to watch how the beer changes as it warms up. But it's not going to be warming up while it's sitting in the keg, because everybody there knows what they want to do. And if you think about it, going back to my earlier point, they want those beers to bring you into their brewery. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure that that beer is as cold and as fresh and as controlled as possible up until the point where they pour it. Once it leaves that keg and is in your hand, it's sort of out of their hands. So I will respectfully disagree with that particular portion of the conversation. That being said, Der Chancellor is a great beer. It's a wonderful Kolsch from Tequesta Brewing, which isn't too terribly far away from Stormhouse.
Well, great. That's a wrap, Dave. That's all I got for you.
Awesome. Is this something that you would like to do again if we find something that's a little bit more sour friendly or light beer friendly? Maybe bring you and your friend out and kind of enjoy some more beers and some more conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I had a lot of fun, and talking to folks was a great time, and I would love to do this again.
Awesome. Very cool. Definitely excited to see what's coming down the pipeline in terms of beer festivals and whatnot. This was a special episode. Next week, we're actually going to be talking to one of the breweries that was at the beer festival, Magic 13 Brewing, which is one of Miami-Dade's newest breweries. They're in Little Haiti, but they've got an absolutely fantastic location. And one of the brewmaster for Magic 13 was at Stormhouse Brewing. He's kind of chilling, and I use that word varying with big air quotes, obviously, considering how hot it was. But he was there with a couple of his beers, one of which I was looking forward to trying. I was able to, and that made me really, really happy. So that's coming up next week from the Florida Podcast Network. Otherwise, this is Dave, your host and author. I will see you all next week. Amber, thank you so much for your time, both at the event and today. I really do appreciate it. It was absolutely wonderful to have you on the show, and I can't wait to have you back.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate everything.
You're welcome. Everybody else, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week, and drink Florida Craft.